Well, of course I had to go and do my usual thing. No matter how careful I am, from time to time, stupidly, I forget to turn the recorder on. So all that I'm talking about there, I literally can't remember. So we will do a voiceover. It was dark and it was around about maybe 8 o'clock. The door was open slightly and I looked out and I could see just a very small trickle of water heading down towards us. Oh, look, our little friendly newt is back again. He was with us yesterday, popped in, spent a few minutes, and obviously because we've got a slightly flooded porch, and I will say this is nothing compared to later on when there's literally water flowing through. But our little friend here, he decided to pop in yesterday. He had a little wander around and then he wandered out. So we'll keep an eye on him, see what he gets up to. We'll just make sure he doesn't get under the ground sheet. That's the most important thing. But yes, as I was saying, I looked out the door and I noticed that the water was coming down the hill, you know, directly towards us. And of course Lassie was in the porch, so I had to move Lassie in with me because I wasn't sure how wet it was outside. So Lassie should be behind me at this stage. And you can see there's quite a drop of water there. It must be maybe about 1 centimetre deep in places, depending on how even or uneven the grass is at this point. There's a little friendly newt there. I believe this is the common newt. I don't think this is the great crested newt. So as I understand it, this is not a protected species, and you can see him there just saying hello to us. So I believe it's okay to handle this one. The great crested newt, that's the one that you must not touch. In any event, I think what I'm saying here is I will have to move him because I can't risk him getting under that ground sheet and me, you know, squashing him. So even if this is the protected species version, which I don't think it is, yeah, I have no choice but to put him, you know, to safety, which is what I'm doing here. And of course, all you footprint lovers, what good is your footprint now going to be to you? Because it's a flat piece of material and will get flooded as well. And then you've just got another thing that's soaked wet and completely and utterly useless to you. So once again, I see absolutely no point of a footprint, even in this situation, because the water will literally come over the top. Because obviously Lassie's area was flooded, on this occasion broke my number one rule, because normally I never let Lassie in, but obviously in this instance I brought Lassie in to my right hand side. She stays there for, you know, a little bit of time. I've put my kilt down, which you can see under my hand there, just to protect as best as I can the airbed from Lassie's paws, although as far as I can tell her paws are not sharp, so she should be okay anyway. I just prefer not to have a dog inside, but on occasions like this you've literally got no choice. Although very soon we pop outside, and despite me saying to Lassie stay inside so I can just pop outside later, of course she went outside and I did not bring her back in again. She stayed outside the rest of the night then. this. So there's some, you can see there's some water under there that is actually floating. We've got a floating ground sheet, and when I come around here, this side, see it's dry here, even though it's underwater. You can see there's water. There's water flowing under there. I've moved the boots over a bit more to try and let the water flow past. But it's a real flow right through here. Right, we're fine, we've got a nice waterproof base. I've brought Lassie inside as it's a bit flooded in her bed, and we've got water, which you probably can't see. There's water flowing under the ground sheet, but we're perfectly safe and dry here. We'll see what the weather brings tomorrow. The rain is on and off, so it hopefully will dry out, but anyway, we're fine here. We're all fine here. How are you all out there? Now, what I've done, I've cleared most of the stuff behind me. So power packs and things like that I've put in the sleeping bag with me. One, to keep them warm and protect them. But water is flowing literally under there. So I'm kind of thinking that the less that I have back there, the less pressure there is on the ground, and then hopefully there'll be less build up of water along here. You can see there's a real torrent of water flowing through here, and it's literally coming through the door and then that way past my boots. But hopefully it's not actually raining at the moment. It's not raining at the moment, and no more rain is not really so much more forecast, so I'm kind of hoping that it will ease off. Even if it carried on raining, I don't think it would matter. I don't think it would get significantly worse than that. We might just have to make a bit more of an arrangement. Maybe even do the inner door up sometimes, just to keep the bathtub, you know, raised up, you know, some more. But we're very well, you know, protected in here. There is some condensation appearing on the ground sheet, and I know what some of you are going to say, oh, it's leaking, and I disagree. I don't think it's leakage. I think it's condensation that forms on the ground sheet and under dry bags and things like that. Because what I did notice is under that dry bag it's quite damp, but that's because water vapor can't go anywhere. And I think here it's just generally damp because I've had stuff here, but over here it's not wet, you know. And I don't realistically believe that, you know, that a ground sheet is going to selectively leak under a dry bag or under something that's solid where moisture can't escape from. as opposed to somewhere else where there's either nothing on top of it or a pair of trousers which is breathable, so moisture's not going to get trapped under there, because trousers and things like that are like, you know, they're like a material. And then when you look at this bit back here, it's not very clear to see, there's water under there. You've got stitching in the corners and no leakage. So I just think that this, in my opinion, for what that is worth, is just a little bit more weighted evidence to those out there that insist that your ground sheet is leaking. I don't think it's leaking. I think it's condensation. I think it's condensation that gets under certain objects, or just on certain objects. I don't think it's leakage. Anyway, it's 9:30, and because we've had this drama, I've kind of been concentrating on this and making videos, so I think it's time to make a cup of tea. I think it's time to make a cup of tea and put another battery into this GoPro, because it's starting to get quite low, this one now. So I think a little bit of tea is in order now. This is where the water is coming from. Oh, Lassie, you had to come out, didn't you? Well, you can stay out now, dog. This is where the water's coming from. You can see I checked up here and there's nothing, yet it's coming out here and then right down through camp. If I'd have been on this little bit of high ground here, would have missed it more. It would have been less of it. Now, this is the river here, look, way over here. So Lassie, come back. So nowhere near camp, you know. So there's the water. It's somehow coming out from under there, and the river is over there, so it's not even near, the river. It must be kind of like it's flooding down through there. There must be, because of all this stone, it must be somehow coming through all of this stone right into camp. Good morning, everybody, and you can see we still have a stream. We've got our own water feature still. Hopefully, given it hasn't rained for most of the night, hopefully it will ease off and go away. Hopefully go away soon. It's been running like it all night. What is, I'll show you what is, and there just literally would be no way of, it's literally, I put a water bottle there to try and divert the water to the right, but all it did was just come around and just literally come down, so it made absolutely no difference, you know, whatsoever. think the wind can't make up its mind. I think it's blowing towards us at the moment. We've got Lassie up there. You see, she's pretty dry, and she's not really been in the water so much. But yeah, I don't know where it's coming from, because I went the other side and there is nothing the other side. It's literally coming from underground there. It's just all that rock features is doing something, but I don't think it's running out as fast as it was last night. I think it was kind of like sort of pumping out from there, whereas it just seems to be flowing out from there at the moment. So I'm rather hopeful, and like I say, we're literally, I mean, of all the places, you know, that we could have pitched, we're literally in the, you know, right in the line of that. But I am hopeful that it will, I'm hopeful that it will ease off. I'm going to do the door back up again, because it's, like I said, I can't quite work out which way the wind is blowing, but if we've got a door, then I will do it up. I did the inner up last night. I virtually never do inners up, but I didn't want to risk something rolling over and pushing, you know, the bathtub floor down and then water getting in here. So, you know, I didn't want to take a chance on that. This floor is actually doing really well, you know, considering the amount of water on it. If we have a look around, so it's dry here, and the only places where it's damp is under things. It's just a few spots of water there, along there. You see, the only place where it's damp is there, where water can't escape from. So it's not leaking, because unless that is a selective leak specifically under there, you know, it's not leaking. You know, so are you all thinking, oh, it's leaking? But water can't escape. You know, water vapor gets under stuff, and then it gets trapped and it can't dry out. I think people have this silly idea their mats are leaking or their floors are leaking. This is, last night, this was quite damp along here, primarily because I was moving around and splashing and that type of thing. And you can see now it's dry. My sleeping bag, I can hear bloody rain outside again now. It's not supposed to rain too much, I don't think. My wind shirt was quite damp last night because I went outside for a moment. But, you know, everything down there is dry. I've got the rucksack at the very end. It's kind of a good job. You see, it's dry under there. It's kind of a good job I brought that rucksack in, because at least when I go to pack it tomorrow, you know, it's it's going to be, for the most part, dry or very dry. What I've done with the wind shirt is I've kind of spread it out over the bottom of the sleeping bag. I think it's mostly dry. I think it's more cold feeling now than anything else. It's maybe damp. It's difficult to tell. I think that bit's damp there. I went outside, which you'll see in some other clips, and then it got wet from that. I think the wind is coming directly towards us, because I think the wind blows the vane in the direct, you know. But it seems very, very swirly wind. But we can but hope that that eases off. I suppose in theory I ought to move, but I think it will go. I think it will stop eventually, and I'm too comfortable to move. And we're okay here. You just got to be a bit careful when you're doing your cooking. Cooking my sausages might be interesting in a flooded kitchen. Like I said, it might have eased off by then. We'll see. I can't definitively prove that that is not the case, but I can certainly, you know, I can certainly add my weight to the fact that I don't believe that most ground sheets are leaking now. You can see that we have a significant stream under us, and yes, you can see surface water around here. So on the face of it, you're going to be thinking that it's leaking, but I really want to debunk this theory. I could understand that you might have maybe, you know, a pinprick here or there, which is possible. But are you trying to tell me that this whole area is leaking? Are you trying to tell me that all of that wetness under there is leaking? I will argue, and I think quite successfully, that is not leaking, but it's condensation either from the air or from water getting trapped under my ground sheet and not being able to get out because I'm lying on it. To further illustrate my point, we have this little area around here. There are some damp patches. Again, that's where things have been lying and water tends to collect under things. But again, for the most part, this is dry because, you know, other than where something heavy is pressing on it and the water can't escape, under there, because this is a little bit lighter, there's no leakage under there at all, and it's for the most part fairly open to air. And you know, that's wet there because this was wet when it was over in that far corner earlier on, and I think just a lot of water was just condensing within the shelter because I had the door done up. Your ground sheet probably is not leaking. Have a look around you as to where the water is, and most likely it will be under things. If you do have, you know, some drips of water like this down here, then, you know, quite likely that's just condensation that's just landed on the ground sheet. You would think that stitching would be a weak point with this Hilleberg, because there's no way that they would have treated it. And bearing in mind that we have literally been underwater for the last 12 to 16 plus hours, there is no water getting in that stitching. So if water can't be getting in the stitching, then it's unlikely that water will be getting through a 12,500 hydrostatic head, or whatever hydrostatic head is here in this Hilleberg. So yes, I know you're all going to disagree with me, and you're all going to say ground sheets are leaking, and that's why you keep insisting on using these ridiculous footprints and things like that. But I can assure you, your ground sheet probably is not leaking. Lift things up, move things around, and if you see a leak, or if you see what you think is a leak, so let's say you put some, look, the biscuits there, so, you know, are you trying to tell me that it is specifically leaking? Like I said, that's wet because I've moved it. Are you trying to tell me that it's specifically leaking under biscuits? So if we move these biscuits away, and I put them at the back there, and I move this wrapper away, and that's Lassie's, oh, be careful there. Let's put that at the back. That's Lassie's vitamins, and that's rubbish. So we move that back there, and in time, it probably will take a while, this area here will dry out. Why do I know that area will dry out? Because this area here last night was very wet, and when I went to bed, or when I woke up, or whenever it was, because there was nothing on this area here, it was dry. So if it's leaking, how can it be dry? So I think there are so many myths out there of this and that, and one person gets this idea and then it gets spread like wildfire out there amongst, you know, YouTubers and people who just, you know, are taken in by all of this stuff, you know, that, and you know, I've been living I've been living in this flowing water, like I say, for, you know, all night and last evening, and I'm not moving. Why should I move? You know, I don't have to move. I'm dry. Yes, I've got some damp patches, you know, where I've got to move things around. It's like playing chess in here, so they don't get damp too quickly from condensation. But when you move things around, the bit where you've moved it from will dry out, and then it'll potentially just get damp somewhere else. There's so much stuff being said out there, and I just think that some people are taking it literally to heart, and I just sometimes I just feel like debunking some of this stuff. I mean, I've been in this tent now for, this is my this is my second morning, so I've been in here for not quite 2 whole days, but I've been in here for quite a while. And why is everyone getting damp sleeping bags? For God's sake, look at the water that is flowing through here. Is this a dry environment? I'm in a tent. I'm not even in one of my tarps. And look, does that look? Look at it. It's puffy. You know, it's dry. why can't, what's happening with other people? What are you doing that you're getting soaked that I'm doing differently, living in this wetness? I don't know what you're all doing out there. You know, it's just bizarre. You know, you look under there and it's just dry under there. And I think the reason why it's dry under there is because the rucksack is more of a material, whereas these stuff sacks, you know, and these mats and things like this. So when we lift this mat up here, lo and behold, it's going to be wet underneath. Not because it's leaking, but because moisture can't escape. You know, it's literally, it's selective. It's selective moisture, and obviously there it's not, you know, there's that, you know, you can even see, you know, the moist slight patch across there, you know. And if I move the mat, it's not so much that side, but anyway, you get my point. You know, you're bound to get a couple of dry bits, but I'm just convinced that your mats are mostly not leaking. Also, another reason why possibly it's a little bit drier here is I am on a slight slope, so I guess it's possible that any water or dampness that's collecting here could move in a downward trajectory. So bear that in mind as well. So if you're looking and you're thinking, why is it damp there and not there? You know, maybe it's something to do with that. I don't know. But I just don't think your ground sheets are leaking when you say they are. Anyway, that's Tony's opinion on things. I'm going to have my breakfast in a minute. So that's where the water's coming out of, under that rock. And there is nothing up here. So it's obviously going underground somewhere. You've got the river or the brook all the way over there. So we're nowhere near the brook. But look at the water. Just think, if I had have literally pitched anywhere down there, probably would have been fine. I'm not sure if there's any places in there. Maybe not. There's a pony over there. Lassie's obviously found water there. There might even be a spot over there. Maybe not. It depends whether you can get pegs in. But look, the water comes down there, has literally flooded my tent out, and then it just disappears here. And then pretty much just disappears there. My guess is that it's pretty dry there. It just seems to have come down here a little way and then just disappeared. Maybe if I'd have pitched across there or something, but you know, there's just absolutely no way that you can know that, you know, water is gonna flood out from there. Look at that, not funny. That probably won't have much, if any, effect, because it's just going to come around. we just got to let it flow and do its thing. Maybe even if we just sort of squish it down a bit, maybe it will flow out even quicker and be done with it, because it's almost like once it's below the level of that grass, it will stop. Anyway, my water thing didn't really help. It is drying slowly. There are some dry patches back there. I wonder where my little friendly newt is. Newt, where are you, Newt? Where are you? Do you reckon it's the same newt? Is it a territorial newt? I bet you. I bet it's the same newt. I bet it's the same newt. It's probably a territorial newt. So, yep, that's where we are. As always, if you've enjoyed this slightly madly different video, please do like, subscribe, share, hit that notification button to all, and please watch all my videos. Thank you.